As I looked at my client's cross-functional team, the tension was palpable, even though it was through a screen. The topic they were dealing with wasn't that difficult, and they were the right people to address it. But 90% of their mental energy wasn't going into the issue. It was being absorbed by the tension between these individuals. As the outsider, I could see everyone choosing their words carefully, avoiding contentious issues and not saying what they really thought, and generally dancing around each other. The problem was, of course, cross-functional working. They needed to align, but like many teams, they found coordination consumed much more of their effort than it should. As I listened to them, an evolutionary metaphor sprang to mind. So bear with me for a moment and I'll tell you how that bit of biology can help you with your cross-functional issues too. We're taught in school biology that the most interesting creatures are complex higher organisms. We take for granted that higher animals differ from lower life forms in that they contain specialised organs and systems. Much of medicine is based on the so obvious that we've forgotten fact that your liver, lungs, brain and bowel are different from each other because they do different jobs. They're all wrapped up in the same body, but they all do separate complementary jobs. And then we're taught that all of this specialisation works because we have other systems like the nervous system, the endocrine system and others that coordinate the different organs. We really question that over billions of years of evolution, nature found that the best way to make a higher organism work is to have its parts specialised and then coordinate with each other. All higher organisms have specialised differentiated organ systems. And even within microbes, there are forms of specialisation of their parts. So that's the biology 101 out of the way, and you can probably guess where I'm heading with this. In the smallest one-person firm, that person necessarily multitasks. But even then, they'll often depend on external specialists like lawyers or accountants. And as the firms grow, they specialise. First, they separate the knowledge-intense tasks from the essential but unskilled work. Even in a tiny biotech, the PhDs don't do the cleaning. And after that comes further specialisation between knowledge-intense tasks. So, for example, I once worked in a firm that was making the transition from having all of its scientists working under one boss to having an R&D function and then a QC function. In both groups, they were full of scientists with similar qualifications, but the two functions had very different tasks and were more productive if they focused on one. Then, next, specialisation happens within functions. As a research chemist, my good friend worked in the same department as me and had the same qualifications as me, but she specialised in analysis and she was a virtuoso with her instruments. She didn't understand at all that my passion was for synthesis pathways. By this gradual process, the people in our organisations become less generalist and more specialist. And it happens not because some textbook prescribes it that way, but because it works. As long ago as 1776, Adam Smith realised that pin makers made more pins when they each made part of a pin. And this is even more true in knowledge-intensive, science-based companies like yours. So just look around your company and you'll see it's full of people whose jobs are so specialised that you barely understand what they're doing. So specialisation works, but at the price of making us different from each other. Your lawyer colleague is good at his job because he never misses a detail. Your medical colleague has been trained to focus on the needs of the patient. Your chief strategy officer is brilliant at seeing the big picture. It's not that your colleagues have different educations, or not just that your colleagues have different educations. They have different ways of looking at the world, developed by years of working within their professional microenvironment. Now, this brings with it the benefits of efficacy, but it carries the costs of inefficiency because of the need to coordinate. As Adam Smith also noted, the firm only works if these specialists are well coordinated, and the more we look at the world from different perspectives, the more difficult it is to coordinate. Hence the tension in my client's meeting and the mental effort that it drained from the team. The tense meeting did have a happy ending, and I like to think I played a part in that. I've worked in the industry for a long time and I've studied it intensely. So whilst I'm a strategy specialist, I have a good understanding of how each different function sees the world. I try to maintain what are called T-shaped skills, that is, narrow and deep in one area but broad and shallow in another. T-shaped people are what make complex organisations work. They have multiple worldviews and they can bridge across intra-organisational divides. The very best senior executives have T-shaped skills, and the worst are I-shaped hyper-specialists with narrow minds. In practical terms, this means that the inevitability of specialisation in complex organisations, despite the tensions it creates, is your best opportunity. So don't seek to be a specialist or a generalist. Learn how to be T-shaped.